It's too dark in here.
Let's turn on a light.
"67 motorcycles surrounded the small house at 5:47 a.m., their engines creating a wall of sound that shook windows for 3 blocks. Inside, 5 squatters, who'd been trashing a widow's home for 8 days, woke to what sounded like the end of the world. They had no idea it was just the beginning. Margaret Chen, 73, had already lost everything once. Her husband Robert died 16 months ago. 42 years of marriage ended by a heart attack. She kept his reading chair by the window, his Purple Heart from Vietnam, his tools in the garage. The house was full of memories she wasn't ready to let go. When her daughter called from Denver, "Please, Mom, the grandkids miss you," Margaret finally agreed to visit for 2 weeks. She locked every window, every door. She did everything right. What she didn't know, Travis Welch had been watching her house for 3 weeks. Travis was a professional squatter. Once someone established residency, eviction took months. He'd done this 17 times, never been caught. 2 hours after Margaret's taxi left, Travis and 4 others broke in. Within 24 hours, they'd destroyed 42 years of memories. Rita Morrison, Margaret's neighbor, knew something was wrong on day 3. Loud music, strangers drinking beer. Robert's chair shoved in the corner. She called 911. Officer Davis arrived. Travis answered with a forged lease and switched utility bill. "Everything's in order," the officer said reluctantly. "Keep the noise down." Rita watched in horror as the police car drove away. Margaret called her lawyer. The news made her blood run cold. "Eviction takes 3 to 6 months. You'll need handwriting analysis, court dates." "That's my home. Robert's Purple Heart is there." "I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen. The law protects tenants, even fake ones." Rita hung up and made a different call. Her nephew Jake rode with the Hells Angels. If you believe communities should protect their most vulnerable, subscribe to The Last Riders for more stories of unlikely heroes. Because what happens next proves that sometimes justice wears leather instead of a badge. Jake Wrench Morrison, 47, 2 tours in Iraq, called Stone, his chapter president. "We've got a situation," Jake explained. Stone listened. Then, "Church tonight. 7. By 6:45 p.m., 43 Hells Angels gathered. Stone pulled up property records. Margaret owned the house 42 years. Rita sent photos. Robert's chair damaged, photos scattered, beer bottles everywhere. "The law says she waits months while they trash her life," Stone said quietly. "But we can legally assemble. Ride anywhere. Knock on doors." Not a single hand went up in objection. "We ride at dawn. Bring everyone." Travis woke to thunder at 5:47 a.m., except it wasn't thunder. 67 Harley-Davidsons converged from 3 directions, engines like God's anger. The sound was deafening, a deliberate, calculated wall of noise that made windows rattle and floorboards shake. Travis stumbled to the window, still half asleep. His face went white. The street was filled with bikers. Not a handful, not a dozen. 67 Hells Angels in perfect formation surrounding the house. Leather vests, chrome gleaming in dawn light, arms crossed, not moving, just watching. His girlfriend Denise ran to the window and started crying. "Oh God. Oh God. Travis, what did you do?" "Shut up, it's fine. They can't do anything. We have a lease. They're Hells Angels," she screamed. "Do you know what they do to people like us?" Through the window, Travis watched more bikers arriving. They weren't yelling, weren't revving engines aggressively. They just stood there in complete silence now that everyone had arrived. 67 men and women. Silent. Watching. Waiting. It was more terrifying than any threat. The other squatters, Derek, Crystal, and Marcus, came downstairs. Derek took one look out the window and went pale. "We need to leave." Right now. We're not leaving, Travis snapped. They're just trying to scare us. They can't touch us. We have rights. A police car pulled up. Officer Hayes stepped out, off duty, but a friend of the club. She'd agreed to be present as a witness to ensure everything stayed legal. By 7 a.m., half the neighborhood was outside. Rita Morrison with 6 elderly residents, all friends of Margaret's. The message was clear. This is our community. Stone knocked, loud, persistent. Travis opened the door, trying to project confidence. You need to leave. This is private property. Officer Hayes stepped forward. Actually, this is Margaret Chen's private property, and I have some serious questions about your lease agreement, Mr. Welch. I already showed the police yesterday. You showed a forgery. Hayes held up her phone with Margaret on FaceTime. I just spoke with Mrs. Chen in Denver. Would you like to tell her about the lease you claim she signed? Travis's confident mask cracked. You can't prove it's forged. Actually, I can, Stone interrupted, stepping forward with a file folder. I can prove you've done this exact scam 17 times in the past 4 years. Sacramento twice, Stockton 3 times, Fresno once. Different houses, different victims, same playbook. You watch for elderly homeowners who leave town. You break in. You forge documents. You exploit loopholes in tenant law. You trash their homes. And when they try to fight back, the system protects you because proving fraud takes months. Stone's voice was calm, but carried the weight of absolute certainty. But here's what makes this time different, Travis. You picked the wrong widow, because Margaret Chen has friends. He gestured to 67 bikers behind him, silent, watching. Not a single person had moved. They just stood there, a wall of leather and chrome and absolute determination. Travis looked at the bikers, then at Officer Hayes, then back at Stone. His practiced swagger was completely gone. Look, we can work something out. No, Hayes said. No deals, no negotiations. Gather your belongings and vacate. Mrs. Chen's daughter is driving her back from Denver. When she arrives in 6 hours, I want this house empty. Or what? Or I arrest you for criminal trespass, vandalism, and fraud. Derek spoke up. Dude, let's just go. This is insane. Shut up, Travis snapped. No, man. I paid you $200 for a place to crash, not to get arrested. I'm out. Me too, said Crystal. This isn't worth it. Travis watched his scam collapse. He'd counted on the system's slowness, on victims being too scared to fight. He'd never counted on 67 Hells Angels willing to stand vigil. Fine. The word came out like poison. We'll leave. Smart choice, Stone said. And Travis, if we hear you tried this again anywhere in this state, we'll find you. Not to hurt you. Just another friendly conversation. With witnesses and cameras, all perfectly legal. Travis's hands shook as he gathered his things. By 8:30 a.m., Travis and 4 associates were gone, their van peeling away while 67 bikers watched. Then Stone made a call. Mrs. Chen, this is Stone from the Hells Angels. Your house is clear. But before you come home, my crew would like to make things right. Within 2 hours, Stone's construction crew arrived with supplies. The Hells Angels helped. So did neighbors. Rita coordinated like a general. They scrubbed beer stains, repaired broken furniture, cleaned graffiti off walls, found Robert's scattered photos and carefully reorganized them. Discovered his Purple Heart medal. Travis had been planning to pawn it, and placed it back in its case. Tiny 6'5". Biker, who worked as a furniture restorer, spent 3 hours fixing Robert's reading chair. My old man had one just like this, he said quietly. Nobody should lose something that matters. By 2 p.m., when Margaret's daughter pulled up, the house looked better than it had in months. Margaret stepped out, eyes red from crying during the 6-hour drive. She'd been preparing to see her home destroyed, her memories ruined. Instead, She saw 67 bikers in formation on her lawn. Stone stood at front, holding her keys. "Welcome home, Mrs. Chen," he said gently. Margaret walked through her door and stopped, hand flying to her mouth. Everything was clean. Robert's chair by the window, exactly where it belonged. His medals polished. Photos arranged on the mantel. She turned to Stone, tears streaming. "I don't understand. Why would you—" "My mother was a widow," Stone said. "After my father died, someone tried to scam her out of her house. I was deployed in Iraq. Couldn't help her. She lost everything." His voice roughened. "I can't fix what happened to her, but I can make sure it doesn't happen to you." Margaret hugged him. This massive, silver-bearded biker probably never hugged by a 73-year-old widow before. Then Rita. Then Sarah. "Thank you," she whispered. 3 days later, Travis was arrested in Sacramento trying the same scam. This time, police found charges waiting. 17 counts across 3 counties. At trial, Margaret testified. So did Rita. So did Stone, who presented evidence of Travis's pattern. Travis got 4 years in state prison. But for Margaret, the real aftermath came every Saturday morning. Motorcycles rumbling past, always checking she was okay. She baked cookies Friday nights for the bikers who'd become family. "You don't have to keep checking on me," she told Stone one Saturday. "We know," he said, accepting a cookie. "But that's what family does." "I'm not family." "Sure you are. You're part of this community. That makes you family." 6 months later, Margaret held a barbecue. 60 people filled her yard. Stone stood by Robert's memorial garden and raised his beer. To Robert Chen, Vietnam veteran who loved his wife 42 years. And to Margaret, who taught us courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's asking for help. Sometimes family is 67 bikers who show up at dawn because that's what decent people do. To Robert, to Margaret. If this story moved you, if you believe real family isn't about blood, but about showing up when someone needs help, subscribe to The Last Riders. We bring you these powerful stories every single day. Hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to remember. The scariest-looking people sometimes become your guardian angels. Travis learned that lesson in a prison cell. Margaret learned it in a yard full of bikers eating her cookies. And 67 Hells Angels learned it from a widow who lost everything twice, but refused to stay broken. That's what community means. Not lawyers and paperwork, but showing up at 5:47 a.m. because someone needs help, and you have the power to provide it.